The chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with light and noise. Tall alien banners hung from the curved walls, each one glowing with the colors of 100 different worlds. Delegates with shimmering scales, wings, and crystal-like eyes spoke in their strange voices. Their words translated into every language across the stars. But one voice was missing humanity at the center of the chamber. A glowing sphere played the last desperate transmission from Earth. A human woman, face pale and eyes fierce, begged for help. Our colonies burn. Our fleets are shattered. We cannot hold out alone. We ask the Council, do not abandon us. The chamber echoed with silence, then laughter. The core delegate, a massive insectoid with razor-sharp mandibles, clicked its jaws together. Humans are fragile. Their death-world myths are lies. They are not worth saving. The Ilari tall beings of silver and light shook their heads in pity. They are too reckless, too violent. Better to let them fall before they drag others down with them. One by one. The alien voices joined, mockery, cold judgment, dismissal. Finally, the Council's speaker, an ancient being of stone and crystals, spoke the final decision. The vote is clear. Humanity is abandoned. Let them meet their fate alone. Billions across the galaxy watched the broadcast live. On distant colonies, aliens shook their heads, some in scorn, others in pity. They expected the humans to weep, to break, to vanish quietly into the dark. But far away, on a quiet blue world called Earth, the reaction was very different. Admiral Mara Sayed stood in the ruins of what had once been a proud naval command center. Screens flickered around her, some shattered, some still glowing faintly with static. The Council's verdict echoed across every device, every channel, every speaker. She did not weep. She did not bow her head. Her hands clenched into fists. Her voice was cold steel. They left us. Then we will stand alone. And if we must burn, we will burn with fire they have never seen. Around her, a small circle of officers straightened their backs. Old veterans, scarred soldiers, and young recruits who had never seen peace. Their eyes burned with the same fire. One of them, Lieutenant Robert Chen, whispered, "Admiral, the fleet is gone. We don't have ships. We don't have allies. How do we fight the galaxy?" Mara's gaze turned toward the ocean beyond the broken windows. Dark waves rolled under the storm clouds. Somewhere deep beneath those waters, something old and waiting stirred. Her voice was quiet, but every soldier heard it. We fight the only way humans have ever fought. We survive. Beneath the surface of the ocean, machines older than memory began to wake. Massive engines coughed back to life, lights flickering in the deep darkness. Giant hulls, hidden for centuries, shook as pressure locks released. They were warships. Not the fragile ships the Council had destroyed years ago. These were different ancient survivors of Earth's hidden arsenal, kept in secret shipyards known only to the highest admirals. Each ship was engraved with a single word burned into its steel: survive, in orbit above Earth. Alien patrol fleets drifted lazily, their commanders mocking the weak humans. One alien captain sneered as the Council's broadcast ended. Pathetic. They begged for mercy. Now they will starve, and their blue world will rot. Let them die. But then his sensors lit up. At first he thought it was an error. A faint energy surged from deep beneath the planet's oceans. But the readings climbed higher and higher, until alarms screamed across his bridge. Impossible, the alien whispered. The humans. They have no ships left. The ocean split apart. A geyser of steam exploded into the sky. And then, rising from the depths like a monster of legend, came a colossal human warship. Its black hull dripped with seawater. Its engines glowed with blinding blue light. Its cannons, silent for centuries, roared as systems powered up. The alien patrol froze. Their scanners screamed warnings, broadcasting the same message across every fleet in orbit. Unknown human warship detected. On Earth. Crowds gathered on broken coastlines, staring at the impossible sight. Children pointed. Elders wept. Soldiers saluted. Humanity had been abandoned, but they were not finished. Admiral Sedid stood on the deck of a command tower, wind tearing at her coat, eyes locked on the rising ship. She whispered the word etched into its hull. Survive. Behind her, officers activated long-dormant beacons. Signals shot into space, waking other hidden shipyards. Across mountains, deserts, and frozen wastelands, more titanic shapes began to stir. The first fleet of humanity in 1,000 years was being reborn, back in the Galactic Council chambers. Alien delegates received the reports with disbelief. The core slammed its mandibles in fury. The Allery's light flickered with unease. The stone speaker's crystal body trembled. One alien cried out, "This is not possible." Humanity was broken. How are they rising again? Billions across the galaxy tuned back into the Council's broadcast. Instead of mockery, fear spread through their voices. For the first time, they were forced to ask themselves, what if the humans survive? The ocean thundered as the first human fleet rose into the sky, and then the warship spoke. Its speakers boomed across every channel. Every frequency, every alien world tuned into the broadcast. The voice of Admiral Said carried into the void. We asked for help. You gave us silence. You left us to die. But hear us now. The ship's engines roared. The sky split with lightning. Humanity answers with one word: survive. As the massive warship entered orbit, sensors detected dozens of alien fleets rushing toward Earth. The stars turned red with enemy signatures. Admiral Despez's eyes narrowed. They're coming. The first human warship turned its guns toward the heavens. The battle for survival had begun. The alien patrol ships hung in orbit above Earth, like vultures circling their prey. Their commanders relaxed in their chairs, sure that the humans were finished. For weeks they had mocked Earth, broadcasting cruel jokes about the fragile Death Worlders. But then came the signal. A blinding flash from the oceans. A warship rising where none should exist. Now every alien sensor screamed warnings. Energy spikes cut through the void. Patrol fleets scrambled, alarms echoing across the stars. On Earth, the people stared upward. The night sky glowed as the first human warship broke free of the atmosphere. Its titanic thrusters burned with blue fire, leaving trails across the heavens. Children pointed and cried out in awe. Soldiers clenched their fists, shouting words that shook their bones. Humanity still fights. For the first time in years, hope spread across Earth in the underground command bunker. Admiral Mara Sa stood over a glowing holomap. It displayed dozens of alien fleets approaching Earth's orbit. Red signals swarmed like angry wasps. Her officers spoke in rapid bursts. Admiral, scanners confirm multiple alien fleets on intercept course. Estimated strength 10 times greater than our awakened ships. They'll be here within hours. The officers turned to their leader, fear on their faces. But Mara's eyes were cold, steady. Then we fight them in the shadows, in hidden hangars beneath deserts, mountains, and frozen ice fields. Human engineers worked without rest. Sparks flew as ancient systems came alive. Mechanics shouted commands, their hands black with oil. Young recruits carried ammunition crates bigger than themselves. Lieutenant Robert Chen ran through the hangar floor, his voice cutting through the noise. Load the plasma lances. Calibrate the railguns. We don't get a second chance, make it work. The soldiers and engineers responded with one word: survive. High above, alien commanders watched the awakening human fleet with disbelief. One commander of the Zell Consortium hissed through his fanged mouth, "This cannot be. We destroyed their fleets generations ago. Where did these ships come from?" Another, a core with razor mandibles, snarled, "It does not matter. They are a broken people clinging to ghosts. Crush them quickly, before others begin to believe in their lies." The alien fleet shifted formation. Weapons charging. Admiral Said's flagship, the HNS Resolute, rose to meet them. The ship's bridge glowed with pale light. Officers standing at their stations. Windows displayed the stars, and beyond them, endless swarm of alien warships moving closer. Mara placed her hand on the command console. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight. This is our first battle. We do not fight for victory. We fight to show the galaxy what humanity means. We fight to survive. The crew saluted as one. The alien fleet fired first. Bright beams of plasma cut across the void, streaking toward the human ships. Space lit up like a storm of fire. The Resolute's hull shuddered as the first blast struck its shields. Sparks showered the bridge. Officers grabbed onto consoles, but the ship did not fall. Instead, its cannons roared. Massive railguns, silent for centuries, unleashed streaks of molten light. The first alien cruiser exploded. Torn apart by human fire, the galaxy watched in silence. On alien worlds, people froze before their screens. They had laughed at the humans, mocked them as fragile. But now they saw something terrifying. Humans were not fighting like other species. They did not retreat. They did not fear death. They fought like cornered predators, desperate and relentless. The council chamber filled with nervous voices. The stone speaker trembled as new reports arrived. The humans are holding the line. Back on the battlefield, the fight grew fierce. Alien fleets poured fire into the human ships. Human warships dodged, spun, and returned blasts twice as strong. Even damaged ships rammed themselves into alien cruisers, sacrificing everything to destroy the enemy. On the bridge of the Resolute, Lieutenant Chen shouted, "Admiral, we've lost to frigates. We can't keep this up." Mara's voice was steel. "Every ship we lose, we make it cost them 10. Hold the line," the crew roared back. "Survive." For hours, the battle raged. Alien fleets kept coming, wave after wave. The human fleet, small but furious, fought them all. Then the sensors screamed. A shadow loomed in the darkness. A new alien ship entered orbit. It was vast, larger than any cruiser. Its hull shimmered with dark energy. Its weapons glowed brighter than the sun. The officers gasped. "Admiral, it's a dreadnought." Silence fell on the bridge. Even the veterans knew what that meant. No human fleet had ever defeated a dreadnought. Admiral Said closed her eyes for one moment. Then she spoke. "We knew this was coming. This is where survival is tested." The dreadnought's cannons began to charge, glow spreading across its black hull. Alien commanders sneered in triumph. This will end it. Humanity dies here. On Earth, civilians watched the skies. Parents held their children close. Soldiers stood on rooftops, staring upward, praying that their fleet would not break. Billions across the galaxy held their breath, on the bridge of the Resolute. Mara looked at her officers. Her voice was low but sharp. "The dreadnought fires in 1 minute. We only need one chance. Prepare the fleet for desperate maneuvers." Lieutenant Chen swallowed hard. "Admiral, what kind of maneuvers?" Her eyes burned like fire, the kind no alien will expect. The dreadnought's supercannon glowed brighter, ready to unleash destruction upon Earth. Inside the human fleet, alarms blared. Pilots strapped in. Soldiers loaded weapons. Officers braced themselves. The screen filled with light, and Admiral Said whispered one word. "Survive." The stars burned red with warning lights. Every scanner, every radar, every human screen showed the same thing. The dreadnought's cannon was charging. The alien superweapon pulsed with deadly energy. Bright enough to turn the blackness of space into a false sunrise, the massive ship was a mountain of steel and shadow, its size dwarfing the entire human fleet. On Earth, people watched the glow in the sky with silent terror. Parents clutched their children. Soldiers on the ground aimed rifles uselessly at the heavens, as if their courage alone could shield the planet. Billions across the galaxy tuned in to their broadcasts. Waiting for the end of humanity, inside the HNS Resolute, alarms screamed. Officers shouted status reports over the chaos. Sparks burst from consoles. The entire ship vibrated as alien plasma fire shook the shields. Lieutenant Chen's voice cracked with urgency. "Admiral, If that cannon fires, Earth is finished. Our fleet can't withstand a single blast. Admiral Mara Saeed stood tall in the center of the bridge, her eyes locked on the glowing dreadnought. Her voice was calm, but it cut through the fear like a blade. Then we don't let it fire. Mara ordered a channel opened. A signal stronger than the alien jammers, one designed for humanity's darkest hour. Across the galaxy, alien civilians, soldiers, and rulers saw their screens flicker. The Council's broadcast was interrupted. The face of a human appeared. Admiral Saeed's face. Her eyes burned with defiance. Behind her, the Resolute's bridge glowed red with warning lights. Smoke and sparks filled the air. But her voice was steady. We were abandoned. The galaxy left us to die. But hear me now. The camera shook as another blast struck the ship, but she did not flinch. We answer with one word: survive. The word thundered across every channel, every planet, every ship. Aliens froze in their homes, watching the broadcast. Soldiers on alien cruisers whispered to one another in disbelief. The Corps commander snarled, smashing his claws against the console. Shut it down. Do not let them speak. But they could not. Humanity's signal was everywhere. Back on Earth, civilians raised their eyes to the glowing skies and repeated the word survive. In colonies long thought lost, hidden human survivors cheered. In bunkers and ruins, in the cold dark of space stations, voices rose together. Humanity was not finished. The alien council chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted over one another. The stone speaker's crystal body cracked from the vibration of its voice. This cannot be allowed. If they live, if they spread this doctrine, the galaxy will burn. But others whispered in fear. For the first time, doubt spread. If humans could rise again after being abandoned, what else were they capable of? On the battlefield, the dreadnought completed its charge. Its cannon glowed like a newborn star, ready to unleash annihilation. Mara's voice rang out once more, not only to her fleet but to the galaxy itself. We are humanity. We are not fragile. We are not finished. We are not dead. We will survive. Her hand dropped onto the command console. All ships form on me. The human fleet moved as one. Dozens of ships, old and scarred but burning with fire, shifted into formation. Alien commanders laughed, thinking this a final desperate gesture. But then, the human ships accelerated. Engines screamed as they hurled themselves forward at impossible speeds. Admiral, we can't dodge the blast. Chen shouted. Mara's reply was ice. We won't dodge it. We'll break it, the dreadnought fired. The cannon released a beam of burning white light, wide enough to engulf a continent. It surged toward Earth, unstoppable. The human fleet dove into its path. On alien worlds, billions screamed. They expected to see the fleet erased in an instant. Instead, something else happened. Human ships exploded one by one, sacrificing themselves to disrupt the beam. Railguns fired into its core. Plasma lances cut through its energy stream. The blast split into fragments, smaller beams breaking apart before they could reach Earth. The skies lit up with fire. Human warships burned, but the planet still lived. On the bridge of the Resolute, consoles shattered. Officers clung to their stations. The ship trembled, its shields breaking apart piece by piece. Chen yelled, "We can't take another hit." Mara's voice was steady. "We won't need to. Prepare the counterstrike." The galaxy stared, stunned, as the impossible unfolded before them. Humanity had stood in the path of annihilation and survived, but the dreadnought was not finished. Its engines flared as it prepared another charge. Alien commanders jeered. "They cannot stop us twice. They will burn." Mara raised her hand, her voice carrying across every ship in the fleet. "This is not the end. This is only the beginning. Let them come. We will survive." Her crew echoed the word, shouting with voices hoarse from fire and smoke. "Survive." As the dreadnought's cannon began to glow again, sensors picked up new signatures. Not one, not two, but dozens. More alien fleets were arriving from hyperspace, encircling Earth like a noose. The human fleet was surrounded, outnumbered 100 to 1. On the bridge of the Resolute, Mara stared into the endless dark. Her voice was quiet but unshaken. Then let the galaxy see. Humanity does not kneel. We survive. The viewports filled with enemy fire. The screen went white. The galaxy had seen many wars. Countless fleets had clashed across the stars. But none of them looked like this. The skies above Earth were burning. The alien dreadnought loomed like a black mountain, its weapons glowing, preparing another blast. Around it swarmed dozens of alien fleet-sleek ships of the core, shining cruisers of the Iolari, needle-shaped vessels of the Zell Consortium. Their numbers filled the void, and in their center floated the human fleet, small, battered, ancient, but alive. The galaxy watched through live broadcasts. Every alien world tuned in, expecting humanity to finally break. The Council called it the end of Earth, but what they saw instead was the beginning. On the bridge of the HNS Resolute, alarms screamed. Smoke poured from broken panels. Sparks rained down. The crew worked frantically to keep systems alive. Lieutenant Robert Chen's hands shook as he shouted,
"Admiral, we're surrounded!"
"We can't escape." Admiral Mara Saeed stood tall, her eyes locked on the endless wave of enemy ships. Her voice was calm, unshaken. "We don't escape. We fight." The crew froze. Then, slowly, one by one, they nodded. Mara raised her voice, and it carried across every channel to every human ship. "The galaxy thinks we are broken. They think we are finished. But today, we show them who we are." Her voice thundered. "We are humanity. We survive." The fleet roared as one. Survive. The alien dreadnought fired. A beam of burning light tore across space, wide as a city, unstoppable. The Resolute shuddered as its shields strained against the force. Other human ships dove into the path, sacrificing themselves to scatter the blast. Explosions filled the void. Human warships shattered into fireballs, but the Earth below remained untouched. The aliens watching gasped in disbelief. They throw away ships. To save a planet? Then humanity struck back. The Resolute's railguns roared, firing molten projectiles faster than light. Plasma lances cut through alien armor. Missiles streaked from hidden bays, tearing into enemy cruisers. A corps commander shouted in rage as his ship exploded. Impossible. Their weapons are outdated. How do they fight like this? But outdated weapons in human hands became something more, something terrifying, because humans did not fight with logic. They fought with desperation, with fury, with survival in their blood. On Earth's surface, civilians stood on rooftops, watching streaks of fire cut across the sky. Every explosion shook their hearts, but they did not turn away. For the first time, they were not helpless. Their fleet was fighting back. A child whispered, eyes wide, "That's us. That's our ships." Her father, a scarred veteran, nodded with tears in his eyes. "Yes, that's humanity." The battle grew savage. Alien ships swarmed from all sides, firing volley after volley. Human ships twisted, dodged, and fought like predators. Even when damaged beyond repair, they rammed into enemy vessels, dragging them into fiery deaths. In the command chamber of the dreadnought, an alien admiral snarled, "They are suicidal. They should retreat." "Why won't they break?" A trembling officer whispered the truth, "Because they fight for survival, not victory." On the Resolute, Lieutenant Chen's voice was hoarse. "Admiral, we've lost 6 ships. We can't keep this up." Mara's gaze was steel. "Every ship we lose, we take 10 of theirs." "Hold the line," the crew shouted back. "Survive." And then something happened that shook the galaxy. The Resolute's cannons fired at point-blank range, shredding an alien battlecruiser 3 times its size. The explosion lit the void like a second sun. For the first time, an alien fleet built to crush humanity, hesitated. They were afraid. Across the galaxy, alien civilians whispered in shock. Humans? They're not supposed to win battles. How are they still alive? In the council chamber, panic spread. The stone speaker trembled as reports poured in. The humans, they are resisting. The fleets cannot overwhelm them, but the humans were paying a terrible price. Half the fleet was gone. Wreckage drifted in orbit. Thousands of human lives were lost in fire and silence, yet the survivors kept fighting, Admiral. Saeed's voice rang out across every ship. We are not here to win. We are here to remind the galaxy of who we are. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity survives. The dreadnought's cannon began charging again. The glow spread across its hull, brighter than ever. Alien commanders cheered, believing the final shot would finish Earth. On the Resolute, Chen whispered, Admiral, if it fires again, we can't stop it. Mara's eyes burned with fire. She turned to her crew. Then we go where no one expects. We strike the monster itself. Gasps filled the bridge. Attack a dreadnought? It was suicide. But the crew did not hesitate. They had seen the galaxy abandon them. They had nothing left but survival. Mara pointed toward the glowing superweapon. All ships prepare for desperate strike. We are going straight into the cannon's mouth. The fleet shifted formation. Engines burning, diving toward the dreadnought. Alien commanders screamed in disbelief. They're attacking us head-on. That's madness. But it was human madness, and it terrified them. The dreadnought's cannon reached full charge. Ready to unleash its annihilating blast, the human fleet, battered and broken, accelerated straight toward it. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Saeed whispered one last order. Survive. The screen went white. The void burned with fire. Alien fleets swarmed above, their weapons filling space with streaks of light. In the center of the storm, the human fleets, maul, scarred, and bleeding, raced straight toward the massive dreadnought. The galaxy held its breath. Billions of eyes watched through broadcasts, waiting to see if this was humanity's final charge or its first victory. On the HNS Resolute, the bridge shook violently as plasma fire hammered the shields. Consoles sparked. Alarm screamed. Crew members shouted over the chaos. Lieutenant Robert Chen clung to his station, eyes wide. Admiral, we can't survive another blast from that cannon. Admiral Mara Said stood at the center, calm despite the storm. Her gaze locked on the dreadnought's glowing weapon. Her voice was steel. Then we don't let it fire. We take the fight to them. The alien commanders laughed when they realized what the humans were doing. They're charging us head-on. It's suicide, sneered the Corps Admiral, mandibles clicking in triumph. But the laughter faded as the human fleet began to move, in ways no alien fleet ever had. Instead of keeping formation, human warships broke apart, scattering in every direction. Small corvettes dived into asteroid fields, weaving between rocks with impossible precision. Frigates slingshotted around moons, using gravity to fling themselves into enemy flanks. Even crippled ships ignited their engines and hurled themselves, like spears, into alien cruisers. Alien sensors struggled to keep track. The neat, logical patterns of battle were gone. What remained was chaos, human chaos. On the Resolute's bridge, Chen shouted in disbelief. Admiral, we're breaking every rule of fleet combat. The ships will never regroup. Mara's reply was sharp. That's the point. The galaxy expects order. They don't understand desperation. They don't understand survival. Her voice dropped, cold and certain. And desperation is our weapon. In orbit. The human fleet unleashed everything. Railgun slugs tore through enemy armor. Plasma lances lit up the void. Missiles exploded in swarms, forcing alien ships to scatter. An Ilari captain stared at his screens in horror. They are everywhere. No formation, no logic. How do we counter this? A Corps commander roared back, You can't counter madness. But even as alien ships burned, human losses mounted. Every victory costs blood. Every maneuver left wreckage drifting in orbit. On Earth's surface, civilians watched the skies ignite. Fire trails crossed the heavens like burning comets. Whole cities shook from the thunder of distant explosions, yet the people did not look away. They lifted their eyes with pride. Their fleet was fighting. Their species was alive. In crowded shelters, voices rose together. Children, elders, soldiers whispering the same word: survive. Back on the dreadnought, alien admirals snarled in frustration. Their massive weapon was nearly ready again. Energy gathered at its core, brighter and brighter. An officer trembled. "Admiral, the humans are targeting the cannon's charge chambers." Explosions rippled across the dreadnought's hull as human ships darted close, firing at weak points. But the dreadnought was too vast, too strong. The blasts barely scratched its armor. The alien admiral sneered. "Let them try. When we fire, their world burns." Inside the Resolute, Chen's hands shook. "Admiral, nothing's working. Our weapons can't pierce that armor." "What do we do?" Mara's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't fight it like a ship. We fight it like a predator." She turned to the comms officer. "Signal all surviving ships. Prepare for ramming maneuvers." Gasps filled the bridge. Even hardened officers froze. Chen whispered, horrified. "You mean to crash into the dreadnought?" Mara's voice was fire. "If we must break our bones on the monster's back to survive, then we break them. Humanity will not die in silence." The order spread. Across the fleet, battered human captains stared at their screens in shock. And then, one by one, they gave the same reply: "For humanity, survive." Damaged frigates turned their burning engines toward the dreadnought. Crippled corvettes locked their courses on its glowing cannon. Even freighters, never meant for war, ignited their thrusters and dove into the fight. Alien commanders shouted in disbelief. "They're throwing their ships at us. They'll destroy themselves." But the dreadnought's sensors screamed as dozens of human ships closed in. Explosions erupted across its hull. Entire decks buckled. The cannon's glow flickered. On alien worlds, billions watched in stunned silence. They had never seen such defiance. Never seen a species willing to tear itself apart just to wound its enemy. A whisper spread across the stars. "This is humanity." On the Resolute, alarms howled. Hull integrity failed. Fire spread across the bridge. Crew clung to their stations, refusing to abandon ship. Chen shouted through the smoke. "Admiral, we can't hold. We're going to break apart." Mara's voice was steady, even as the deck shook beneath her feet. "Then let us break, but let us break against them. Every breath we take, every life we give, is another cut in their monster's flesh." The dreadnought's cannon glowed brighter, straining to fire. The galaxy waited for the blast. Sensors on the Resolute lit up with a terrifying reading. A second dreadnought had just entered orbit. The crew froze. Chun's voice cracked. "Another one." "Admiral, there are two." The bridge fell silent. The enemy's new shadow loomed across the stars, weapons already charging. Mara closed her eyes for one moment. Then she spoke, her voice colder than the void. "So be it. Then the galaxy will learn what it means. When humans are forced to survive," the screen filled with burning light. The void went silent. Every human sensor, every alien screen, every watching eye across the galaxy froze on the same image, second dreadnought sliding out of hyperspace. It was larger than the first. Its black hull shimmered with strange energy. Whole city-sized weapons lined its surface. The monster ship drifted into orbit like a god of war, casting a shadow over Earth itself. The galaxy gasped. Billions whispered in terror. 2 dreadnoughts. For the first time, even the alien commanders were uneasy. On the HNS Resolute, smoke filled the bridge. Sparks rained from shattered consoles. Crew members worked with bloody hands to keep the ship alive. Lieutenant Chen's voice broke as he stared at the glowing sensors. "Admiral, it's impossible. We barely survived one. We can't fight two." Admiral Mara Saeed stood tall, her uniform torn, her face streaked with soot. Her eyes never left the massive shape of the new dreadnought. Her voice was steel. Then we survived the impossible. The crew straightened. Even through fear, even through pain, her words cut like fire. Across Earth, panic spread. Cities shook as the sky lit with burning streaks. People in shelters wept as they saw the massive shadow blotting out the stars. Some whispered prayers. Others clenched their fists, and still, the word spread on every human tongue. Survive. The first dreadnought, already damaged by humanity's suicidal charges, began to recover. Its cannon glowed once more, brighter, deadlier. And now the second dreadnought joined it, preparing its own weapon. Two sons of death lit the void. Alien commanders cheered. The Corps Admiral clicked his mandibles in triumph. At last, humanity will be erased from history. But some alien soldiers trembled. They had seen the madness of humans. They had seen the desperation. And deep in their hearts, they feared what would happen next. Admiral Saeed's voice thundered across the fleet. Listen well. We cannot win this battle. But we can show the galaxy something greater than victory. We can show them survival. Her eyes burned. If we must bleed, we bleed so our children live. If we must fall, we fall so our world rises. Humanity will not be erased. Not today. Not ever. The crew roared with her. Their voices shook the burning bridge. Survive. Human ships moved again, darting between alien cruisers, using desperate maneuvers no other species would dare. Frigates slingshotted past enemy beams. Corvettes skimmed the dreadnought's hull, firing at weak points, vanishing in explosions, even freighters. Old cargo hulks rammed themselves into alien ships, their engines turning into weapons. It was madness, chaos, sacrifice, and it was working on alien worlds. Citizens watched in stunned silence. They had been taught humans were weak, that they were finished. But now they saw ships burning just to claw at their enemies, soldiers laughing as they rammed into giants, voices screaming defiance as they were torn apart. A whisper grew across the galaxy. They fight like no other. They fight to survive, but the dreadnoughts were too strong. Their cannons reached full charge. Two colossal beams lit up the void, aimed directly at Earth. On the Resolute's bridge, Chen whispered in despair, "Admiral, we can't stop both." Mara's face hardened. Her eyes flicked across the star map, and then she saw it. A chance. We don't need to stop both. We make one destroy the other. Gasps filled the bridge. Officers turned in shock. Chen's voice cracked. You mean, trick one dreadnought into hitting the other? Mara's answer was cold fire. Yes, they believe us desperate. They don't believe us clever. Let's prove them wrong. Orders spread through the fleet. Surviving ships shifted position, thrusters firing. They darted across the dreadnought's line of fire, weaving in chaotic patterns, baiting the massive guns. Alien commanders shouted in confusion. What are they doing? Why are they scattering again? But the dreadnoughts did not wait. Their cannons fired. Two beams of annihilation tore across the void, burning brighter than stars, and humanity's fleet. Moved at the last second, the beams crossed. The second dreadnought's blast smashed into the first, ripping through its already damaged hull. Explosions tore across its decks. The massive ship shuddered as half its body split apart in fire. Alien commanders screamed in disbelief. No, they've turned our own weapon against us. On Earth, the skies lit with victory. People roared in joy as the first dreadnought began to fall, its wreckage burning in the atmosphere. Children pointed upward, shouting, "We survived." Soldiers on rooftops raised their fists. Civilians in shelters wept. For the first time, Earth believed it could live, but the victory was short. The second dreadnought loomed above, untouched, its weapons charging once more. Its alien admiral hissed with fury. So the humans are cunning. Then we erased their world twice as fast. On the Resolute, Chen's voice was hoarse. Admiral, we can't trick it again. What do we do now? Mara stared at the glowing monster in silence. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Then we climb inside the beast. The crew froze. The meaning was clear. A boarding mission. Direct assault. Suicide. And yet, not one officer objected. The dreadnought's cannon reached full charge, aiming directly at Earth. Human strike teams armed themselves in silence, preparing to board. Their faces were pale, but their eyes were fire. Admiral Sayed gave the order, her voice sharp as a blade. All strike teams prepare for insertion. We take the fight inside their monster. The last words echoed across the fleet. Survive. The screen faded to white as drop pods launched toward the dreadnought's black hull. The black hull of the alien dreadnought filled the sky. Its cannon glowed like a newborn sun, aimed directly at Earth. One more shot, and the planet would be ashes. But streaking toward that monster ship were dozens of human drop pods inside. Strike teams gripped their weapons tightly, faces lit by the red glow of warning lights. The pods rattled violently as they cut through debris fields and burning wreckage. Sergeant Alina Torres tightened her helmet. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed the fear she carried. Remember the Admiral's words. We don't fight for victory. We fight to survive. The soldiers echoed her, voices low but fierce. Survive. On the HNS Resolute, Admiral Mara Saeed watched the strike teams vanish into the void. Smoke and fire filled her bridge. Her fleet was nearly gone. Wrecks drifted like graves around Earth. Lieutenant Chen staggered to her side, his uniform burned, his voice raw. Admiral, if the strike teams fail, the dreadnought will fire. Earth will be lost. Mara's gaze was cold steel. Then they will not fail. The drop pod slammed into the dreadnought's armor, drilling into its surface with explosive clamps. Hatches burst open. Human soldiers poured into the alien corridors, weapons blazing. The inside of the ship was a nightmare. Walls pulsed with strange organic machinery, glowing veins of alien energy snaking through black steel. The air was thick, hot, suffocating. Alien defenders rushed forward, towering insectoid warriors, crystalline soldiers. Clawed beasts bred for war. The corridors erupted into chaos. Sergeant Torres fired her rifle, the recoil slamming into her shoulder. Alien soldiers fell, ichor splattering the walls. A human marine beside her screamed as claws tore into him. But even as he fell, he detonated his grenade. Taking the enemy with him, the squad pushed forward. Step by bloody step. Above them, loudspeakers boomed with an alien admiral's voice, dripping with contempt. You cannot stop us, humans. You are ants crawling inside a god. You will be crushed. Torres gritted her teeth. We've crushed gods before. Back on Earth, civilians watched the skies with trembling hands. The second dreadnought's glow painted the heavens red. Parents held their children close. Elders whispered ancient prayers, but no one looked away. If this was humanity's last stand, they would witness it together. Inside the dreadnought, the strike team split into groups. Some fought their way to the cannon's core. Others targeted power nodes. Explosions rocked the ship as humans planted charges on critical systems. Every meter forward cost blood. Marines fell screaming. Squads were cut down, but they never retreated. They kept fighting, even with broken weapons, even with bare fists. In the darkest corridors, their voices echoed, "Survive! Survive!" On the bridge of the Resolute, Chen shouted over the alarms, "Admiral!" The dreadnought's weapons still charging. They haven't stopped it. Mara's eyes locked on the burning glow that threatened her world. Her voice was cold. Then we give them more time. She raised her hand. All remaining ships ramming course. Target the dreadnought. If we die striking its heart. The last surviving warships turned their engines toward the monster ship. Their captains saluted. Their thrusters blazed, one by one. They dove into the fight. The alien admiral sneered as he watched the tiny ships coming closer. Madness. Always madness with humans. But his sneer vanished as the first human frigate smashed into the dreadnought's flank, exploding in a fireball that ripped open entire decks. Another rammed a weapon battery, silencing it forever. More followed, each one tearing into the giant like knives in flesh. The dreadnought shuddered. Its glow flickered. Deep inside the ship, Sergeant Torres and her squad reached the cannon's core. The chamber was vast, glowing with alien energy. At its center pulsed the weapon-an orb of burning light caged in black steel. Alien guardians swarmed around it. The battle was brutal. Humans fired until their rifles overheated, then drew blades and fists. Soldiers fell screaming, but still the squad pushed forward. Torres slammed an explosive charge against the core's base. Her hand shook as the timer blinked red. Her voice cracked through the coms. Admiral charges planted. But we're pinned down. We won't get out. Mara's reply was soft but steady. You don't need to get out. You only need to survive long enough to finish this. On Earth. Billions held their breath as the dreadnought's glow reached its peak. The cannon was seconds from firing. Inside the core chamber, Torres stared at the ticking charge, surrounded by alien warriors. Her rifle was empty. Her squad was dying one by one. She pressed her bloody hand to her helmet, whispering the word every human across Earth was whispering too. Survive. The charge detonated. The screen went white. The galaxy trembled. Billions of eyes watched as the alien dreadnought's cannon glowed brighter than a star. It was the weapon meant to erase Earth forever. Then an explosion. From deep within the dreadnought, fire tore through its veins. The glow of its weapon sputtered, faltered, and died. For a heartbeat, silence ruled the void. Then the monster screamed. Entire sections of its hull burst open, flames erupting from its armored skin. Pieces of black steel drifted into space, glowing like burning meteors. The second dreadnought, the strongest war machine in the galaxy, was crippled from within, inside its broken corridors. Sergeant Elena Torres staggered through the fire and smoke. Her squad was gone. Her rifle was gone. Her armor cracked and sparking. But she was alive. The explosion had torn the cannon apart, but alien soldiers still swarmed around her. She raised a broken blade, her body shaking, ready to fight to the last breath. Before they could strike, the walls shuddered. Explosions ripped through the decks above. Beams of fire cut across the chamber, and through the chaos, human voices crackled on the coms. Strike team, hold on. We're coming. On the HNS Resolute, Admiral Marisade gripped the railing as the dreadnought burned. Her crew roared in triumph. Chen's voice was hoarse with disbelief. Admiral, they did it. The cannons destroyed. For the first time in hours, Mara allowed herself a thin smile. Then Earth survives another day. But the battle was not over. Alien fleets still surrounded. Earth, though their dreadnought was crippled, hundreds of cruisers and destroyers closed in. Their commanders shouted in fury, desperate to finish humanity before the galaxy lost faith in their power. The Council broadcast tried to control the panic. Do not fear. Humanity is still doomed. Their fleet is broken. Their planet cannot stand. But no one believed it anymore. Across alien worlds, citizens whispered in awe. They had seen humans stand against annihilation. They had seen humans trick two dreadnoughts into destroying each other. They had seen humans fight like no other species ever had. The myth of human weakness was dead. Mara's voice thundered across every channel. Listen, Galaxy. You left us to die. You called us fragile. You called us weak. But hear us now. The human fleet, scarred and burning, formed around her ship. Their thrusters glowed. Their weapons hummed. We are humanity. We are the survivors of Earth. We do not kneel. We do not break. We survive. The word echoed across the void, across Earth, across every watching world. Survive. 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 On alien worlds, soldiers lowered their weapons in shame. Civilians wept. Even council delegates sat in silence, unable to deny what they had seen. For the first time in history, the galaxy feared humankind for its strength, but for its will to endure. Back in orbit, The crippled dreadnought still fought to live. Alien commanders screamed orders. Weapons fired wildly. But the human fleet, though battered, fought with renewed fury. They dove into enemy lines, tearing apart cruisers with suicidal charges. Every loss only fueled their fire. The void burned with wreckage. On Earth, the skies cleared. Alien ships fell in flames, their wreckage streaking across the atmosphere like shooting stars. Civilians poured into the streets, staring upward with tears streaming down their faces. Children raised their fists. Elders whispered prayers of thanks. Soldiers saluted the heavens, for the first time in generations. Earth was free. On the Resolute's bridge, Chen collapsed into his chair, exhausted. "Admiral, we actually did it. We survived." Mara's face was grim, but her eyes burned. No, this was not survival. This was a message. She turned to the comms officer. "Open a channel to the galaxy. All of it." The officer hesitated, then nodded. The signal spread, piercing through every frequency, every world, every colony. The face of Admiral Mara Saeed appeared across the stars. Her uniform was torn. Her face was bloodied. Behind her, the wreckage of Earth's first great battle burned in the void. Her voice was quiet, but it carried with unshakable weight. "We are humanity. You left us to die, but we are not dead. We survived." Her eyes narrowed. "And now you will remember us." The galaxy fell into silence. 4. The first time in centuries, the Council had no reply. Alien rulers stared at their screens, terrified. Citizens whispered in awe. Soldiers felt doubt gnawing at their hearts. The message was clear. Humanity had been abandoned. But humanity had endured. And humanity would rise again, far beyond the Council's reach. In the deep, unknown void, another race watched the broadcast in silence. Tall, shadowed figures stood in a dark chamber, their eyes glowing faintly. One of them spoke in a whisper that sent shivers through the silence of space. The humans survived, just as the legends said they would. Another figure leaned forward, its voice cold and certain. "Then the true war begins." The screen faded to black.